Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's iWoman Report. I'm Kathleen Trigg-Jones. I hope you're all doing all right. I feel the need to check in because it's been an exhausting few weeks in our country for women in particular, right? We did get a little bit of good news for those of you who are in New York or who had other primary victories around the country. Governor Kathy Hochul, New York State's first female governor, won the primary and is officially the Democratic nominee to face off against the Republicans in November, bringing her one step closer to being the first elected female governor in the state of New York. She was originally lieutenant governor in New York, in case you didn't know, but she took over earlier this year when Governor Andrew Cuomo resigned over sexual harassment allegations. I had a chance last night to hang out at the governor's election headquarters to celebrate her victory, along with her lieutenant governor pick, Antonio Delgado, who, if elected, will also be the state's first Afro-Latina lieutenant governor. Congratulations to all the women who won across the country, including Assemblywoman Rebecca Seawright, another staunch supporter of women's rights here in New York. Now, with the Supreme Court voting down Roe v. Wade, the role of governor is extremely important, as each state will now get to decide on its own what rights women have over their reproductive health.
I stand on the shoulders of generations of women. Generations of women who constantly had to bang up against that glass ceiling. To the women of New York, this one's for you.
Tell them, Kathy Hochul, that's exactly why we need more women in office, right? We have a bit of breaking news from the Supreme Court. Justice Stephen Breyer announced that he is officially stepping down today, paving the way for his successor and the first black female U.S. Supreme Court Justice, Ketanji Brown Jackson, to officially take her seat on the bench.
I say I want you to pick just this up. It's an experiment that's still going on. And I'll tell you something. You know who will see whether that experiment works? It's you, my friend. It's you, Mr. High School student. It's you, Mr. College student. It's you, Mr. Law School students. It's us, but it's you. It's that next generation and the one after that. My grandchildren and their children. They'll determine whether the experiment still works. And of course, I am an optimist, and I'm pretty sure it will.
No doubt, Judge Ketanji Brown will be a welcome addition to the Supreme Court. Recent events have actually overshadowed some other important milestones for women and have, quite frankly, made it a little hard to be hopeful about the future of gender equality and rights for women. But on the day before the Supreme Court ruled to overturn Roe v. Wade, you may not have realized that it was the 50th anniversary of the passage of Title IX.
In 1972, the 37 words of Title IX changed everything.
No person in the United States
shall, on the basis of sex,
be excluded from participation in,
be denied the benefits of,
or be subject
to discrimination
under any educational program
or activity
receiving federal financial assistance.
We need Title IX to serve as a catalyst for continued equity and opportunity for girls and women in sport of all identities, orientations, and expressions.
to continue to push for equality, including equal pay for equal work.
to continue to provide opportunities for women to continue to excel in athletics and beyond.
Title IX was passed as part of the Education Amendments Act. The original intent of Title IX was to end discrimination based on sex in any activity or program receiving federal financial assistance. But its biggest impact by far has been on women's sports.
On June 23, 1972, Title IX was signed into law. It's the first law that prohibited discrimination on the basis of sex and ensures equal opportunity for women in all levels of education, especially athletics. 50 years later, Title IX continues to be a major player in the fight for women's equality in sports. Under federal law, students are now protected from gender-based discrimination in school and athletics, ensuring equal opportunity and resources for both men's and women's sports programs, while protecting all athletes from unfair treatment on the basis of their gender identity or sexual orientation.
Doesn't all this make you wonder, where did women lose rights? At what point was it decided that women should not have the same rights or shouldn't be able to compete in sports or play the same sports that men do? Why do we even need a Title IX? It's really, bizarre, but we do. And while we've come a long way, improvement definitely does need to be made. For instance, women still get paid less than men across the board in sports. Women also experience more sexual harassment, and let's face it, women athletes just don't receive nearly the same respect as men. To commemorate the 50th anniversary of Title IX, ESPN released an exciting new docuseries called 37 Words. It explores its impact as well as its shortcomings. The 4-part series highlights 2 powerhouse pioneers in women's sports, Billie Jean King and Ann Myers Drysdale, the women that grew up with Title IX and the challenges it still faces today, specifically dealing with young trans women.
Do you think people know what Title IX is? We wanted to make sure that any girl born in this world would have a place to compete.
It just became completely unacceptable.
Hopefully, we played a small part in ensuring that for many decades, girls would continue to play.
I'm standing on your shoulders.
Laws change because people's voices are heard.
37 Words was directed by 2 women, Dawn Porter and Nicole Newham, and it can be watched on ESPN+, Disney+, or Hulu. I can't wait to see it personally. You all let me know what you think about it when you watch it. Maybe we should have a watch party. Go figure. Experts are now advocating for more protection against sexual assault and better guidance in handling these kinds of situations to be added to Title IX.
I think so many of these cases are not reported because the survivor, the victim of the assault, has trepidation about the process. They feel they won't be believed. They feel that nothing will happen.
One of her big goals now is to rewrite Title IX protections.
Of course people are afraid to report it because look what happens when we do. Well, the Biden administration has proposed several rule changes to the current Title IX amendment to include sexual orientation and gender identity in the definition of sex. One of those changes would remove the Trump-era ruling from Betsy DeVos that any investigation requires statements from victims and other witnesses to undergo cross-examination in a live hearing. Go figure. Biden's changes would bring us closer to the improvements made under the Obama administration, although there still is little protection and guidance on how to address sexual misconduct that occurs in federally funded institutions and programs.
New this evening, the Biden administration wants to overhaul Trump-era guidance on how schools handle sex assault cases under Title IX. It would increase protections for transgender students and widen colleges' responsibilities in addressing sexual misconduct. According to the administration, it would also make it clear that preventing someone from participating in school programs and activities based on their gender identity would be in violation of Title IX. If this proposal is finalized, it would mark the second rewrite of these federal rules in just 2 years.
Rewrite and rewrite until you get it right. And this brings me to my question of the day. Is Title IX sufficient at addressing sexual misconduct that occurs in schools and sports? What do you think? Should Title IX have more guidance and stricter policies on how institutions handle sexual misconduct? Please head on over to our Instagram at iWomanTV to take the poll and leave your comments. I love it when you leave comments as well because I'm fired up on this topic and we need to discuss this stuff, air it all out. You might remember one of the biggest sexual assault Title IX cases in recent years involved the U.S. women's gymnastics team. The team's athletic trainer, Larry Nassar, was investigated under Title IX at Michigan State University in 2014, and allegations were published against him in the Indianapolis Star in 2016. Yet, Nassar kept treating patients until 2018, 4 years later, when he was sued by USA Gymnastics for sexual assault and child pornography. He was found guilty, and he's now serving 175 years in prison.
He is a predator, and he can't be stopped unless he is behind bars for the rest of his life.
In court, Nassar's accusers look their abuser in the eye.
But little girls don't stay little forever. They grow into strong women that return to destroy your world.
Following the Nassar sentencing, a group of 90 women are now suing the FBI for $1 billion for mishandling the case. They claim they attempted to bring Nassar's misconduct to the FBI's attention in 2015 and again in 2016, and there was no action taken against him. This is just a reminder of how important it is to fight to keep girls safe and not let things like this go on for years and years, forcing them to relive their traumatic experiences. All right, I do want to bring you an update to another big story that we've been following in the sports world, and that is the ordeal involving WNBA superstar Brittney Griner. You'll recall she's been detained more than 130 days at this point by the Russian government over a minor marijuana charge. Now, we're seeing the first pictures of Brittney since she was taken into custody February 17th, and I have to say, she just doesn't look good. In fact, in some pictures that I've seen surfaced of her in court, she looks absolutely traumatized, and any of us would be. We've learned that her trial is set to begin this Friday, and she faces 10 years in prison if she's convicted of large-scale transportation of drugs.
Another setback for WNBA star Brittney Griner, now held in Russia for more than 4 months. A Russian court has extended her detention another 6 months, pending the outcome of her trial, which is set to begin Friday.
Brittney, how do you feel?
Appearing for the first time in court Monday, the 6'9" Griner seen here unmasked and handcuffed to a prison guard, surrounded by security as she's escorted into the pretrial hearing in Moscow. In a statement, Griner's reps tell ABC News, the fact remains that the U.S. government has determined that Brittney Griner is wrongfully detained and being used as a political pawn.
Of course. I mean, who holds somebody for over, by the time this is done, she will have been in prison a minimum of a year over a minor charge. Something has to be done. Brittney's teammates, friends, family, and some government officials are working tirelessly to bring her home. There are some ways that you can show your support to help get Brittney back where she belongs. You can use the hashtag #WeAreBG and bring Brittney home. Sign the petition at change.org/Brittney Griner, or you can send a letter to our dear President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris urging them to do whatever they can to get Brittney back to the United States. And that brings me to my thought of the day. Over this past week, we have watched our rights as women go into reverse, literally undoing the progress that women have made over the past 50, 100 years. If you feel like we're at war right now as women, it's because we are. First, reproductive rights, next, gay marriage, and possibly interracial marriage. They'll all be threatened. What's next? The future of women in sports depends on us coming together as women, as local and federal leaders, as human beings who believe that all people should be treated equal, and fighting to protect that belief system by any means necessary. Title IX needs to include sufficient policies and procedures to protect sexual assault survivors, and we need to ensure that people of all genders and sexual identities are safe and protected, not only in sports, but in all institutions and programs that they choose to participate in. Just like Roe v. Wade, we must never forget the groundbreaking change Title IX made for women and girls when it was enacted 50 years ago. Now is not the time to sit back and be silent. It's time to stand up and fight. If it were not for the suffrage movement and the women who have been fighting for equality over the past century, where would we be today? Think about that. I want to thank you all for joining me for this week's iWoman Report. Until the next time, everyone, please stay healthy, stay happy, and stay safe.